Hello, Colts Nation, and what's up, No Horsing family? Welcome back to another episode of the No Horsing Around podcast. As always, we're two dudes talking Colts. We're your hosts, Steven and Zach, and I'm not even going to delay. I'm just going to kind of go and let Zach rage for a minute.
Yeah. Indianapolis Colts lose 24-0. And this is one of those podcasts. And as far as the comments go, I think anything's fair, anything's legitimate when it comes to Colts Nation. You can say, Frank Reich, I think his job's on the line. I really do. I don't know how he escapes this. This is an embarrassing loss. And not to just piggyback off of last year, and we all know how last year ended. This is a problem that has come into the light, and it's a real problem now. Like, we cannot excuse it. We cannot say, hey, just calm down. It's just been one game. This team has lacked preparation. This team has lacked being ready to play football. This team has lacked spirit. There's no real, Chris Ballard used the word a couple years ago in a press conference. We need a little more friction in that locker room. Well, there ain't a damn piece of friction in that locker room. They're just okay with it. They have accepted the fact that they're going to lose games, they're going to win games, and they've taken on the demeanor of their head coach, to be honest. The demeanor of their head coach is everything's just going to be okay and it's going to work out. And it's not okay, Steven. It's not okay. It's not okay to go out there against a division opponent, considering the circumstances how last year ended, to lose the football game and be shut out on the road in an inexcusable. And, we always talk about what we liked, what we didn't like. I don't like anything about this football game. Like, literally, there's not anything about this football game that I can say, oh, well, at least this happened or at least that happened. From start to finish, bad football, bad coaching, bad execution. And we're going to use those excuses. Michael Pittman was out. Alec Pierce was out. Every team in the NFL has injuries, and that's a lack of being prepared as a football team. And that's a lack of having talent on the roster. We've all been beating the horn, especially me, for having a veteran wide receiver in the group for this very reason. This is exactly why I said you had to have a wide receiver, a veteran wide receiver that could come out and help your football team in these moments. Think about how nice it would have been to have a T.Y. Hilton on the field today in those situations. Ashton Dulin, he caught a few balls. He ended up doing this, a lot of garbage time. Nothing else really to speak of. Paris Campbell, this guy that you just keep holding on to that can be this, the resurrection.
Injured again.
If he's healthy, and he's just non-existent in football games. And you knew it. You knew that Jonathan Taylor was going to have loaded boxes the whole game long because there's nothing else that we have. They don't fear our football team, and rightfully so. Why would you fear a football team in a situation where we can't produce points against the team, mind you, that had the first pick in the NFL draft last year?
2 years in a row.
This was the worst team in the NFL the last 2 years. And the one thing in the last 3 years that we all have in common is that they have beat the Indianapolis Colts. And that is just pathetic. That is inexcusable. And it is time to stop talking. It is time for the narrative to go away from, hey, let's don't overreact. It's early on in the season. Frank always gets them back. Frank doesn't always get them back because we didn't make the playoffs last year, right? Like, right. Let's stop talking about that and let's start talking about the truth. We've taken on this blasé, this lackadaisical, this nonchalant mentality of our head coach, and it's seeped into our players. They're not scared for their jobs. They're not scared for their security. They know next week when they go out on the field, they're going to be just fine. And before you start coming at me and saying, well, who the hell would you put in there? That's a lazy excuse. That's a lazy way of looking at football. You find somebody to put in there. That's the job. That's the hard part of the job, to find someone to take over when you're in these dark, dark days as an Indianapolis Colts fans, and it's not getting better next week. You're playing a team who is rightfully, considered one of the, Super Bowl favorite odds to make the Super Bowl next year. And, man, I don't know, Steven. What do you say?
I mean, I'm sitting here, and we were talking during the game. We always talk during the games, and I was 50-50 if I was coming on because of how upset that I was. And I just sit here and I go, I mean, it's all fluff. We're all hype and no substance. I've had to hear it from Titans fans my entire life. I've had to hear it from Titans fans and from all the fans. Hey, they hype you up. They hype you up. They hype you up. We're all hype. We're no substance.
Yeah.
We looked like a team that didn't want to be on the field from the moment the game started. Once they went down the field and scored, no one looked like they wanted to be there. They're running through arm tackles. It looked exactly like the last game of the season last year. And then I sit here and this is just me. Everybody, No Horse and Family, Colts Nation, everybody predominantly blamed our quarterback last year. Doesn't look like it was him. It's the entire team. This is what I told you, Zach, when we were talking. He had his issues. Don't get me wrong. I know I'm a Carson apologist. I'm not going to seep that in here. But the team has its issues. The team doesn't look – it looks, honest to God, like a team that has quit on Reich. It really does. Like, you look at that game, they looked like they didn't want to be on the field. They looked like they had no business being out there. And I'm sitting there, and I know people last week are like, well, Matt Ryan came back. He had a good game. And I'll talk about Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan threw 3 picks today and looks like a guy who's got 1 foot into retirement right now. That's what that looks like. The only positive, you want to talk about positives, the only positive is we are 1 step closer to probably drafting a damn quarterback this year to try to actually do a rebuild. I don't know who you replace him with, but you're right. It's lazy thinking to say, well, who do you do? Somebody will probably get a bump out of him. Maybe it's Gus Bradley. I don't know. But man, oh man, you just watch this game, and I joked beforehand. I thought about this beforehand. I'm to a point. I'm going to take my headphones off for just a second. I'm going to wear a hat from now on of a team that actually plays and tries to win a game. They may not be the best team in college football, but damn it, they actually show up and show heart, and the Colts didn't show a stitch of it today.
No, I mean, 100%. And, a lot of this is on Jimmy Irsay right now. Like, that guy's got to be boiling. He's got to be embarrassed. He's got to be hurting for the fan base. And before you come at me and before you say this is an overreaction, I don't care how the season ends. You cannot overlook what has happened in these first 2 football games. And these players on this field, there's just no juice. You want to talk about bring the juice, and you want to talk about doing all of this. There is no juice. Not on this football team. There's nobody on this football team. And hell, maybe it's Shaq Leonard. He's not there. But you got to have a couple guys out there that are saying, listen, we are just not going down this road, especially after what happened last year. This might be the worst back-to-back losses that this franchise has ever had in Indianapolis Colts history. I don't think it's an over-exaggeration. And I think there's Frank Reich's to blame. I think Chris Ballard's to blame. I mean, I'll be the first person to say that as well. I think he has neglected the left tackle position. A couple years ago, he could have taken Christian Darrisaw. He took Kwity Paye. He had an opportunity to take a franchise left tackle right there. He hasn't went out and found his left tackle. He took a flyer on Matt Pryor. He took a guy in the 3rd round who might eventually turn out to be a pretty good left tackle. But guys don't slip to the 3rd round and not have warts, right? Like they don't slip to the 3rd round and not have some issues and not going to have some growing pains and at least questions in general managers' minds. Even our own general manager had to question that for him to be able to slip that far in the NFL draft. Then you've got this wide receiver group where you've just said, we got to let the young guys play. We got to let them play. Well, when you let them play, you just scored 0 points with those guys. So stop telling me that we just have to let these young guys play and we've got talent on this football team. You're pushing this narrative off to me as a fan, as a person who has put his life and his passion into the Indianapolis Colts football organization, and you're trying to make me feel like a fool for believing this stuff. They're not good enough. There's not enough talent on that football field offensively outside of Jonathan Taylor. There's not enough weapons to win football games, big football games. And football ultimately is about winning and it's about losing. And I understand it doesn't mean, and I've said this on pod, I've even made a comment here recently about it. I've been an Indianapolis Colts football fan for over 30 years, and I will not stop being an Indianapolis Colts football fan because they lost today. And because of that, and because I've been a fan for 33 years, because I've put my life into it, because I pay for season tickets, I am allowed to express the way that I feel in real time. That's why we do these instant reactions. We love doing it. We love coming on here. But more importantly, we want you guys, the No Horsing Around family, who has just been out of their mind, unbelievable with these comments here recently, and just taking over and taking control of these comments in the comment section on our YouTube videos. We want you guys to come on here and we want you to let it out, man. Whatever it is, let it out. Even if you disagree with us, this is your time to listen to this, take it, digest it, comment, and let it out. Whatever you got to say, fire them, keep them, state your case for them, state your case against them, state your case for what you want. As we wrap up here, any final thoughts for you, Stephen, before we get off of the instant reaction?
I mean, I just sit and it's just, it is what it is. It's one of those things. I think you said it best. Don't misconstrue the anger that you get from us as something that's saying that we're not Colts fans. It's because that we're Colts fans that we're this angry. And I can tell you one thing, and this is just right here at the very end. BetStamp's a great sponsor. I won't be betting on the Colts next week. I can tell you that. So that's just one of those things. But at the same time, it's just like, I'm going to end it. I'm going to end it because I don't know what else we're going to say. I love you. I know Zach loves you. We still love the Colts, but we all deserve better. We're out.